Hello everyone and welcome back to the Python Machine Learning Beginner course. In this lecture, we are going to talk about decision tree classification. So without further ado, let's get started. Remember, previously we talked about CART, that means classification and regression trees. And previously we also talked about regression trees whenever we learn different types of regression techniques. Now in this lecture, we are going to talk about classification trees. Let's say we have a dataset like this, and here we have two categories, which is represented by red cross and green cross. So we are going to find out these two categories by implementing decision tree classification. Let's do this. So in order to classify this dataset, our decision tree algorithm actually makes some splits here. Let's say it will make split 1 in here, then it makes split 2, split 3, and split 4. And after making all this split, now it clearly separates all the categories that exist in this graph. Now let's see how decision tree algorithm actually made that split. So what happened in split 1? When we applied decision tree algorithm in this graph, in x2 is equal to 60, it makes split 1. So we can create a tree according to this information where x2 is less than 60 and it have two probable outcome, yes or no. Now when x1 is equal to 50, it makes another split, that is split 2. And here you can see the left portion of the split 2 is the green crosses, and in the right portion of this split 2 are red crosses. So we can write down in this tree like this way, and in the probable outcome, in the yes leaf we colored them as green, and in the no leaf we colored them as red based on the information we get from the graph. Okay, now our decision tree algorithm make another split, that is split 3, when x1 is equal to 70. And here we can clearly see that in the left portion of the split 3, all the data points are red. So we can draw this in this way, where in the yes leaf we colored them red, but in the no leaf we actually can't decide because it actually holds both red crosses and green crosses. So we just put this in that way. Now our decision tree algorithm make another split, that is split 4, when x2 is equal to 20. And here you can see the upper part of the split 4 are the red crosses and the bottom part of the split 4 are green crosses. So according to this information, now we can say that if x2 is less than 20, then in the yes leaf we colored them as green, and in the no leaf we colored them as red. So that is the way actually decision tree classification work to classify our data. So that's it for the intuition part of decision tree classification. Let's go ahead and get started by jumping to the Spyder IDE to implement this decision tree classification in order to solve a problem. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, now I'm here in Spyder IDE. First, we are going to copy all these lines of code from our logistic regression Python file and paste it to our decision tree classification Python file. Because remember, we actually do almost all the steps from our logistic regression Python file. So in order to code efficiently, we just copied all these lines of code here and paste it in our decision tree classification Python file. So we just have to change this portion over here where we have to fit our decision tree classification to the training set. Now let's first import all the essential libraries and then import our dataset. Then we are going to split our dataset into training set and test set, and then we will do feature scaling. Now it's time to fit our decision tree classification to the training set. Let's type from scalearn.tree import decision tree classifier. Then we are going to create a classifier object by typing classifier is equal to decision tree classifier. In parentheses, we pass criterion is equal to entropy, because here you can see in decision tree classifier, the default criterion is Guinea, but in this project, we are going to use entropy as our criterion. And then we will pass random state is equal to 0 if we want to get the same result as we get here. Now we are going to fit our classifier in our training set. So type classifier.fit in parentheses X train, Y train. Now let's run these 3 lines of code. Okay, now it's time to predict our test set results. So let's run these lines of code and go to the variable explorer and open ytest and ypred values. So in the left side we have ytest, that is the actual value of our purchased column, and in the right side we have ypred values, that is actually predicted by our decision tree classifier. So let's create a confusion matrix in order to find out the accuracy of our decision tree classification. Let's run these 2 lines of code and go to the variable explorer and open our CM variable. So here you can see our decision tree classification algorithm made 62 plus 29, that means 91 correct predictions, and 6 plus 3, that means 9 incorrect predictions. So we can say that our decision tree classification achieved 91% accuracy for this social network ads dataset. So that's it for today's lecture. In the next lecture, we're going to talk about random forest classification. So for all that goodness, I look forward to see you in the next lecture. Until then, enjoy machine learning.